Welcome back to the Beyond the Batter's Box podcast. I'm your host, Nick Kemper. Today I have Luisa Gauci here from the Milwaukee Brewers. Luisa, thanks for coming on.
No worries, anytime.
Awesome. Well, to start, you've had a really unique journey. For one, like you're in a male-dominated field, which is really cool. Can you tell us about your journey from Australia to get to where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, I went to an all-girls school. Softball was the sport that we had at my school. I originally tried out for the softball team. My first year, I did not make the team, did not make the cut. I went home, told my mom I was interested in pursuing it. It was something that I really enjoyed trying out for because I was playing tennis at the time. We went to work trying to find a team for me to play softball at. Unfortunately for me, it was not softball season when my mom went around to all these different clubs and teams to see if there was a place for me to play. The baseball field was open, and that's who was looking for players at the time. She kind of thought it was the same thing, close enough. So that's how I got signed up for baseball originally. There was just a lot of opportunities for girls at the time because there wasn't many of us playing. So one of those situations, like right place, right time. I was quite older when I got signed up. I was 12 years old already. Just trying to kind of play catch up, just right from the beginning.
For sure, for sure. And then from there, because you played baseball in college in America, right? So
Yes, yeah.
how did you go from Australia, which is the other side of the world, to then ending up in America?
Yeah, so definitely, I think, and that's kind of part of it. I was pretty old when I started playing, and so I was constantly trying to play catch up, and I was just trying to sign up and do as much as I could all year round, constantly, and that's honestly where a lot of my opportunities came from because I was trying to catch up to a lot of different players that were playing since they were in Little League, and I was just trying to better myself the best and fastest way possible so that I can continue playing with everybody else on my team. So I was just any type of opportunity that came around, I was volunteering for it. I was signing myself up for everything. I was doing every extra early camp. I was doing every winter camp, every summer camp. Anytime a team had a tryout, I was doing it. Anytime there was an opportunity for me to sit on a bench, I was doing it. And that's honestly how the opportunity for me to go play in college came about because a lot of the guys on my baseball team were heading off to college, and I kind of just thought to myself, well, they're going, I can go. I was just like trying to reach out to as many teams as I can, just trying to get a feel out of what kind of opportunities were there. I was actually volunteering, coaching for a team, for a summer ball team in Australia when we were playing a US travel team. And that's actually how I met my college coach because he
No
was
way.
coaching that travel team in Australia. I ended up coming in to play for a few innings while I was volunteer coaching. And he talked to me at the end of the game and he said, "Oh, you play baseball? I thought you were a coach." I'm like, "No, I'm only 17 years old. I'm just love baseball. I want to try to play in college." And he actually offered me an opportunity to go play summer ball for his team. I went to go play summer ball, from there he just said, well, "Why don't you stick around for the college season?" So I said, "Why not?" So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I mean, did you ever think about playing cricket? Because isn't that the biggest thing there in Australia?
Yeah, so that's also a funny story. My high school was had tryouts for the cricket team, and I begged my parents to let me play cricket. But my dad had an incident where he got hit in the face by a cricket ball, so he said, "Absolutely no child of mine will be playing cricket." So, just funnily
Uh,
enough, they let me play baseball, but yeah, no cricket. Yeah.
for sure. For sure. Awesome. Okay, so then you get over here to America. You had a pretty significant tie to driveline baseball. What role did they play in your development as a player and then kind of as a coach? Because you transitioned pretty immediately, right? You went from basically playing and then all of a sudden coaching right away. What role did
Yeah.
they play in it? I know there's some people that you're going to shout out here probably. What was
Yeah, I
that
mean,
kind of, part like? And what was your like story there?
yeah, I mean, Driveline had a massive impact in my life. massive. Like, I can't even explain. It started well before I even started working there. Well before I even started working there, or training there. Like just in general. At the beginning, it all started with when I was 15 years old. Driveline actually came to Australia, and were given opportunities for other coaches from my city to learn, the Driveline way. And they actually came back to our academies and were teaching us. And I thought, I've heard of Driveline. We started introducing this to all of our development programs, and I just thought to myself, like, oh wow, I'm getting so much out of this, and I'm just getting so much better. So it was just such an amazing thing that happened to my career. And then progressing that into, okay, COVID happened. Okay, like my team was stopping practices because of COVID, and Driveline actually had the quite a steal for online training during that COVID period. And I was just really lucky enough to be paired with Tanner during that time. So Tanner Stokey was my hitting trainer. Shout out Tanner. Yeah, and honestly, just like absolutely amazing. What a fantastic experience. One of the best coaches I've ever had. Really just changed my life in that way. And at the same time, I was just really into doing massive deep diving into analytics as well, when it to do with especially women's baseball. So I was talking to Alex Caravan a lot throughout that time. I was a massive fan of the Driveline R&D podcast. I was honestly just as deep as you could be as like a Driveline super fan. And yeah, the opportunity came about for me to be able to intern there. I was able to do that while still training with Tanner. And it was just awesome. Like, it was just I learned so much. I was really able to take my career to the next step. I didn't know what it meant to hit 6 days a week. I had no idea until I started training at Driveline. So,
What impact did they have on you when it came time to? Because obviously you go to Driveline and play, but what impact did it have on you to basically realize, like, okay, it's time to be done playing and time to go into coaching? What was that transition like for you, and kind of how difficult was that process?
yeah, so it's difficult, kind of. But the thing is, I love training. I love it. I could not get enough of hitting off the eye pitch, reading metrics on the blast. How good could I really be? Because I wasn't someone that got a lot of playing time. So my game really, like, I really could make the most impact in my training, and I just wanted to see how good I could be, because I just wasn't getting playing time. So for me to stop playing, I actually played one more. We started like a women's pro league, so I played one more cycle of the women's pro league while I was still working for the Brewers, actually, and that was only for a week. I played that week, and I remember I was standing in the outfield, and I said to myself, "Huh, I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay not playing anymore." Because I feel so fulfilled coaching. I feel so much happiness giving back to everybody else. I'm actually okay playing. I'm still throwing batting practice every day. I'm still hitting fungo most days. I still get to see other guys hit off the machine. We're still utilizing training bats. All these, my favorite parts that I loved about baseball, it was constantly being around it every single day. So I really felt like I wasn't losing it. I still work out every single day. I still train like I'm gonna play, but that's just something that I really enjoy. So honestly, like, that transition from playing and coaching was honestly okay for me. And a lot of, I think it's something that people don't really realize is I've been coaching while playing my entire career. I've always been volunteering for a little league. I went and coached in the Cape Cod League while I was still playing. I was always doing women's baseball events with Driveline while I was still playing. I was always coaching in some capacity. I actually volunteer coached at a junior college for 6 months while I was working at the Driveline in Arizona. I was always coaching. So I was always doing something that I was really passionate about whilst doing the other thing that I really enjoyed.
I'm glad you mentioned the part of how much you like training because I was kind of like this too when I was playing. Is I almost love training more than playing at times. Do you feel like there's a gap or like there's a population of baseball players that fall into that similar trap that's almost detrimental in the sense of when it comes time to competing, like they're still worrying about like their exit velocity or their attack angle. You know, does that become like a detriment? And is that something that you see regularly, even at the level that you're at? How do you kind of get players away from that?
So, great thing for us here, we don't have a lot of guys that are like that. We have a lot of guys who really enjoy the game and are really, really competitive, and we're more so getting that competitiveness into practice while utilizing technology. So, yeah, I think the mindset is more so at facilities that you see it at, especially people that haven't gotten the opportunity to truly compete. Because I think the more guys you see coming out of higher leverage college teams or teams where kind of like competing is the main mindset. You don't really see that. Oh, but I like training. And I also think it's also very different, right? Like I was like a chronic bench player. So for me, training was the only way that I feel like I could truly get my work in because I was maybe getting one or two at bats a game or even one at bat a week, you know?
If you did run into a situation where like a player did love training more than hitting, basically, like what would you do to kind of get him out of
I would just say, well, "What's your job?" Again,
that?
but luckily we don't have that. We don't have that here.
Yeah.
Like here, everybody wants to play. They love it when it's game time. They're counting down the days until we get to play a different team. Even scrimmagers, they're very, very competitive here.
Good problem to have. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you kind of balance like the empathy side of it? Like as a former player, understand like what they went through, but then also having the like objectivity to coach. Like you still have to basically like do a job, understand like who's in the best possible position, help the team win, but also like there's the guy struggling, he's over 50, he's in a massive slump. Like how do you go about balancing that?
Yeah, again, like luckily we don't have massive problems like that. But I would just say like the biggest thing is just I practice active listening a lot. So the thing is you try to be proactive, not reactive. You just don't let the guys get to that point. So early on in the week, early on in the month, early on in the year, you just listen to what they're saying and you make slight adjustments straight away. You don't let things build up. If a guy says in January, hey, I want to see more left-handed breaking balls, or I'm really struggling hitting off the two seam, before we even start playing games, you're getting him off the eye pitch. You're getting him off the junior hack facing two seams. We're getting ABs out with guys from our organization that are throwing like lives, and you get him to face the lefties. You just set them up for success, I think, is like the biggest thing. It's like you just need to listen to what they're saying, and then you react in that way. You don't react because they're not doing good. Um, yeah.
What's kind of the biggest difference you've seen so far from coming over from Australia to getting to the US to now being in pro ball? Like there had to have been a kind of a learning curve jump, right? Like you're learning new technology, you're learning new analytics. You mentioned that you're super into that. What was the biggest like jump you saw, or was there something that really shocked you of like, okay, wow, this is really valuable, and I didn't know it was going to be that important?
Yeah, I would just say training every day. In Australia, we don't train often.
Really?
You'd be lucky to train with the same team twice a week. So,
Really?
so here it's really, really cool that there's facilities, academies, teams, major league teams, minor league teams, every team. They train multiple times a week with the same people, same coaching staff, with a development plan for the whole time you're with them. Whereas in Australia, we just don't get that many opportunities or that much time because everybody is from so far away. We don't have like a densely populated baseball hub. everybody could be driving an hour, 2 hours to get to a practice that happens twice a week. Whereas here, everybody's pretty local, or academies people are living in. Facilities like Driveline, people are flying in to stay there to get that full experience, and you're training every single day. I think that was a massive shock of, oh, wait, you're actually training a few hours every single day. I think that's awesome because you have to really practice the skill as much as
Right.
you can.
Do you think that that'll change in Australia in terms of like the ability to practice it? I mean, I find that shocking.
Yeah,
The full
I hope so.
complement.
Yeah, I hope so. But the thing is, we don't have the the infrastructure that America does to be able to do that. We don't have the technology that America does to be able to do that too. To get anything shipped from the US to Australia is an arm and a leg. So for us to get an eye pitch where here it's like a dime a dozen would be a major investment for any type of baseball club to
Wow.
purchase. We also don't have indoor batting cages. You know, it's there might be one or two for every city that have an indoor batting cage.
Yeah, I guess the weather probably there plays a part. It's kind of like Florida, probably.
Yeah, very
You guys
similar to
don't need
Florida.
to.
Yeah.
Which good problem to have. You guys can be outside that any time. But yeah, it does suck. It's fun. Would you like to kind of be a part of that in terms of like bringing that type of culture to Australia?
Yeah, so I was actually in Australia this off season. I was helping out with Team Australia. Then I was the under 23s team, and then I was also helping out with the Brisbane Bandits, which is the pro team from the city where I'm from. And then I was also volunteering my time with our state program. So I am. I actively, yeah. I was coaching 6 days a week when I was back in Australia this off season. So I was home for around 2 months. And yes, I love it. Like, of course, if I'm free, of course that's what I'm doing. So
Wow, so you're just 24/7 baseball.
try to be, yes.
Do you have any hobbies?
Massive hobbies. Yeah, I love national parks. Love baking. I make sourdough. I
Oh
go
yeah.
like I really go hiking most afternoons. I do Pilates. I do spin class. I'm doing something. I you never I don't actually own a TV, so I'm always
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
always constantly doing something. I have a lot of hobbies.
I'm surprised that you have time for that many hobbies. That's impressive. What is your sourdough?
What is my sourdough? It's great. My bread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also cook sourdough too. So I'm like you, because my girlfriend she basically like has like different type of molds that she uses, and each one has like a different level of density. I find it
Okay.
interesting how like into it she gets. But I was just curious if you like that too.
Mine's not dense. I like the really fluffy, crispy, almost like a croissant
Okay.
level. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Getting back to the baseball side, do you see or do you face like when you go to all these places and you help out with high level baseball players, do you ever face kind of like backlash or kind of like obstacles when it comes to being a woman in a male dominated
No.
ever?
No. Honestly, no. Like, there was maybe one time a coach told me he doesn't want me sitting on the bench. And then what I did was I left that team and I went to a different team. And that was it. That
Wow.
was probably the most direct thing I've ever gotten told to me. And it wasn't even to my face, it was over the text message. Um, but other than that, honestly, no. And like, even the players here, it's if someone briefly says something, which no one ever does, uh, they got my back just straight away. There was like someone who made a pass by comment in spring training, and as I was like, I just ignored them. As I was walking by, I just heard one of our players like talking directly to that person who made the comment, and they're like, "That's our coach right there. What? Don't ever say that to him." So it was just like, oh, okay,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's good. That's great to hear. You feel like you have a responsibility to basically be like a leader or like a turning point for other women who want to break into baseball? Because I mean, from what I know, like it's you and Rachel Balkin, and like those are like the two main women in Major League Baseball. Like, you feel like there's a responsibility in your guys' part kind of help usher in the new era of women getting into baseball?
Yeah, and there's definitely a few more women as well. Like there's definitely a group of us, and I feel like we all do a really great part of doing things in our own way that helps a group of women differently. Because we're all at different ages, we're all living in different parts of the country, we're all part of different organizations. Um, and there's two of us from Australia, women coaches. There's myself, and then another woman called Lisa Nori. She's with the Oakland Athletics, and we're both from the same part of Australia. And so she actually coaches our women's teams back in Brisbane. And then when I go back to Australia, like I go and help out more like our local clubs, and then I also help out a lot of the teams that I was a part of growing up as well. I also have like girls that reach out to me over text because I was part of the Baseball for All stuff, and I always jump on a FaceTime, always jump on a call, always there giving advice, always trying to help them the best that they can. They just give them information because a lot of them again like want to jump in, don't know where to start, so they just give me a call and I just try to help them the best I can.
You mentioned that not knowing where to start. How overwhelming was it when you first got? Like, was it overwhelming at all, or was it just kind of like, I know what to do? Like I've been doing
Mm.
this for years. Obviously not at the pro ball level, but in terms of like you're in a new environment, you're obviously in a new country. Like, what was that transition kind of like?
So the Pro Bowl transition honestly was pretty straightforward, purely because we have so many people, at Driveline that went through it. And so I felt like I had heard enough, I had experienced enough, I had gone through the interview process enough where coming right in felt like, oh, this is great. Like, it's more exciting than it was overwhelming. I think maybe the most overwhelming aspect of jumping into Pro Bowl my first year was just how many baseball players there truly were, and just learning Spanish, getting to know these guys, and building relationships. I would say that would be the most overwhelming aspect of my first year.
How hard was it to learn Spanish?
Better now. Yeah. So it's been 3 years now, and it's way better. I can coach in Spanish, one-on-one work in Spanish, cage work in Spanish. It's all good now. Yeah, we have a
Awesome.
great time. Yeah.
How hard is it when players go in for the off season? Because there's a dead period, right? Like you
hmm
basically can't talk to players for like a certain amount of time in the winter. How hard is it to kind of make sure that they're doing, their off season program, making sure they're sticking with their diet, making sure they're sticking with their plan? How hard is it when you can't communicate with them? What do you do to basically kind of ensure that they do stick to their work? Uh,
Yes. So that's the thing, right? Like we can't tell them what to do and what not to do. All we can do is really just trust and hope that they take in all the education pieces that we gave them throughout this season to just take it home. And we've been so fortunate that most of these guys truly do that, and it's their career, and a lot of them are really passionate about their career. Guys do not come back to us worse than when they left. A lot of them take a really good ownership on their careers, and they really make the best decisions for themselves. And I think that's just like a really great testament for all of our education pieces that we have with the Brewers. And yeah, these guys do a really great job at coming back better than when they left.
with so many players coming back to you, then when you get them in spring training, like how do you kind of individualize development with so many guys moving up and down? They're moving through different levels. They basically have so much mobility, and then there's a lot of players to deal with in general. How do you individualize them?
Yeah, so it's just a lot of conversation. It's a lot of when the guy jumps in the cage first in the first day or even in the morning, like, hey, what are you working on today? Like, where do you want this pitch today? Do you want to use training bats today? What pitch have you not seen the most of? Some guys like will come back and say like, hey, like I didn't get to face much machine in the off season. Could we kind of ramp back up on the machine? A lot of it is just really great communication, especially in spring training when there is a lot of moving pieces. But we have our main pillars that we focus on, and we just kind of dial that in for every single guy. And we just kind of answer all those questions every single day to just try to meet them where they're at the best that they can, so that we're getting in as the best work that we can.
So a lot of it is player driven.
A lot of it can be player driven, yes, and like obviously we have a lot of internal metrics as well that we can kind of guide them. So if they mention something that they feel like that they want to work on, we have the information to kind of go back with them and have that more back and forth conversation about what they need versus what they feel versus what they want.
Have you ever had a moment in time where a player's like, "Hey, I need to work on this," and you're like, "Absolutely not." Like you're not in the
I
right
mean, yeah. But you get that everywhere, It's just like you can have a guy that says, "I want to work my bat speed today," and you're like, "Your bat speed's 80, like 84." I was like, "How about we work on something else?"
Right, right.
I think the funniest one you get all the time is like, "What are you working on today?" They're like, "Oh, bombeos." It's like home runs. It's like, "Oh, great, aren't we all?" You
Right.
know. And then you kind of ask them to be a little bit more specific, and then that's kind of when we dial it in.
You, but like you've never had like an awkward conversation of like, "Yeah, you're gonna do what I do," or like you're gonna do what I tell you to do because you're absolutely wrong.
No, no, no. Especially my coaching style, it's not like that. It's not like this is what we're doing absolutely because absolutely not. No, again, very much like I do practice a lot of active listening, and I very much so like listen to what they're telling me, and if they're telling me something that makes sense, but then we can see it in a different perspective of what they need to work on. We kind of just like, hey, this is what you need to work on. I hear what you're saying. Here's how we can put these together. So if a guy says, hey, like this is an example, right? The guy says like, hey, I want to work on home runs. It's like, okay, great. What are you not doing? Maybe his pull side really is really bad. So it's like, hey, okay, well, you want to work on home runs. You don't really pull the ball very often. How about for today, let's use the long bat and let's only focus on hitting the ball to the pull side of the field the best that we can and just move the best that we can. And like that's kind of how you can pair the both of like something you want to work on and something that we see internally.
You always have data to kind of back up something that you do, or is some of it kind of like a feel? 'Cause I know like a lot of the older guys in baseball, they're like, "Oh, it's on feel, it's on feel, like it's on like what I think is right." But obviously, with analytics being in the game more predominantly now, like there's a lot of data to back up, what you're coaching. You ever go off that data, or like I guess stray away from the data in terms of like data says this, but I really think that you should be doing this just based on.
Anytime I say anything to anybody, there's a reason why, and I'm going to be able to back it up. Whether that be from video, from metric, from something that happened in the game, there's always a reason why. I'm never going to say something based off what I think. It's what I know. So, yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to not just young females, but just young people in general that are trying to break into Major League Baseball or trying to break into pro baseball uh, as a coach? Like, what would you kind of tell them to do to kind of take the steps to get that?
I would just say, like, anything that you can just be yourself in, just be yourself in a coaching environment. Don't try to copy someone else's coaching style. Obviously, there's things you can take from other people that are very successful, but always try to make your coaching style your own and really try to refine that. And just try to take as many opportunities and volunteer positions as possible. I wouldn't be in this position today if I didn't volunteer for many, many, many different things. And I was doing that many years before I got this job. I was always volunteering for coaching. I was always volunteering my time for MLB events. Like I was always volunteering my time to coach younger females. Like just always put yourself out there. Don't ever take a season off just because. There's always an opportunity to meet new people and always an opportunity to network.
You mentioned the role model aspect of like be yourself, but also like take bits and pieces away from other people that have done it really well. Do you have kind of role models now that you still talk with, still look at as like a example of what to do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rachel, I talk with Rachel still, and like I'm always asking for her advice. And I mean, there's a lot of different people that I like to listen to through the ABCA network. I love watching everybody's past videos from conferences. Everybody has really great tidbits, too many to name because you ask when I have time for all this stuff. I'm listening to these leadership talks. I'm listening to these different coaches sharing their information through the ABCA, through different podcasts while I'm hiking or while I'm out walking or while I'm baking. Like I'm always constantly learning different things while doing things I also enjoy. I'm always learning constantly. There's never a time where I just put my phone down. You know, I'm always listening to Spanish podcasts on my way to work. You know, I take formal Spanish lessons certain afternoons of the week. When I go hiking, I'm always putting up the next research podcast that I'm interested in. I have a list on my phone of all the new videos. You know, ABC is dropping this year's videos in a week's time. You know, I already have them all lined up of like who I'm listening to next. So I'm always constantly learning from other people.
Sure. I think that's a really good message. Is if you want to be really good at something, find what you're passionate at, and never stop learning. And if it's 24/7 job.
Exactly.
What's something that you've changed like as you've gotten into pro? It could be like a mindset. It could be like a habit. It could be something that you previously did as like your routine. What's something that changed as you got into pro ball, and kind of why was that a change that you made?
Yeah, I think something that I didn't do my first year was I'm someone who loves to plan. I love to plan. I love to have a full view of our training for months, weeks at a time, because I just want to make sure that we're getting to everything with sequence. And my first year, I didn't quite do that. It was my first year, I kind of went with the flow of getting our feet wet and just seeing how things adjust. But I think now, you know, this is my third year in the pretty similar position. So I've now kind of again honed in like what makes me me and like what's my coaching style, and that is very much so like I'm very planned out and I'm very intentional with a lot of the stuff that we are doing daily, weekly, monthly, and it's all for a purpose and all for a reason. And I think that's something that's really changed if you look at my programming style from my first year to now my third year. Yeah, it's changed drastically for the better. And again, that comes from active listening to some of the players. Whenever they have ideas or suggestions, I always take into consideration. I always think on it, and I always ask for other people's advice within our coaching staff, and we always refine it. And everything's always changing.
You go back and like tell your younger self something that would set you up better for the position you're in now. What would that be?
That's tough because I think everything happens for a reason, you know? And I think all the hardships that happen and all the struggles that you have kind of make you into the person that you are. And so I think that the struggles that come is actually quite good, you know? So I don't know if I would want to go back to myself anything. I would just say, just fight through it.
Yeah, that positive for sure. I think that's another, especially now, like in the age of social media and with everything being at your fingertips, seemingly with your phone in your pocket. Like people forget that there's a lot of struggle and there's a lot of adversity that comes with basically being good at something, and it takes not months, not weeks, but years to really develop that. I think that's something that's extremely valuable for people to hear. Is basically like learn to love failing.
My favorite thing is fail fast. If you're gonna fail, at least fail quickly so that you can jump back up and just do it again.
Figure it out. Yeah, figure out how to do that. For sure. Do you have basically like any habits specifically? I know you just mentioned like, you're a big planner, and I think that's awesome. But do you have any specific habits that you do, kind of like a superstition before games or practices or training sessions?
I mean, habits, like, again, I am very prepared for anything that the game's gonna throw to me. You know, I have all of our pitcher information for who we're facing broken down into smaller dot points, as well as bigger graphs per se for the guy, or bigger pitch plots for the guys to have a look at. So, depending on their learning style, we've got, hey, I can give you a verbal, I can give you a physical, can give you a drawing, I have that ready. I also give a lot of feedback in the game. Again, always prepped on that. I always keep a record of pitches that they see and pitches that they swing at throughout the game. Um, yeah, I mean that just comes with game planning though, and I would just say like that's kind of a great habit is just be prepared for the game. Again, you're proactive, not reactive. So I'm always proactive. I always have more information than needed, just in case.
What kind of drawings are you giving to players? I've never heard that one.
It's like a thing I created. It just more so like has the TrackMan pitch plot. And I do different shapes about when they take a pitch or when they swing a miss. So they can physically have a recap of their hitting session. Or their at bat, so when they come back into the dugout, they can kind of reset quite quickly, so they're not dwelling on like, oh, was that a ball? Was that a strike? Yeah, so I just have like a quick visual for every player in our team throughout the whole game.
Okay. You're very young, and you broke into Major League Baseball very quickly. What does success look like for you in 10, 15, 20?
Okay, well, success looks like for me in the immediate future is all the players that we're developing right now here at the complex, they all have a fantastic season. That's like success. Success is everybody does better than when they arrived, and they're gonna do better. I think some of the times that make me the most proud is just guys that we've coached at the complex for many, many years finally make it to affiliated ball. That always makes me tear up a little bit when they get called up. So that's always like success for me, like in the immediate future, is seeing them succeed. Because again, like that's kind of why I love to coach, is just seeing how it impacts other people's lives. I think again, that's why it was so okay for me to stop playing for myself, because I am so much more fulfilled seeing other people succeed than myself. But I think, like, personally, success for me, again, love to be a major league hitting coach. That is for sure 100%. Like, that's what I'm working towards, and that's mostly what everybody's working towards. That's the peak of where you can be. So, yeah, I would say, again, in 5-10 years, like, that's always what you're working towards.
Very, very selfless. It's all about the people that you basically work for, not about.
Yeah.
Last question here before we wrap up. Do you have, and I kind of try and ask this with everybody, but obviously, as we all go through our different career paths and we have different stories, is there ever one or two stories that stuck out with you when you kind of look back on it that you're like, wow, that was really crazy. I can't believe that happened. Nobody's ever going to believe that did happen unless you had to be there type of thing?
I have a funny story. I mean, last year, we only had one show and go the entire season. It was 4th of July. We're playing the White Sox at a backfield at 9 a.m., really early. And there was a lot of fans there. And the guys were like, wow, look at all these fans showed up for 4th of July. We don't get many fans in the complex. I knew who we were facing that day. We were facing Noah Syndergaard. And it was the only day we did not have batting practice. So these guys were like, oh, look at all these fans, we're all so happy, look at the fans. And then they got in the dugout, and I was like, okay guys, happy 4th of July. We're facing Noah Syndergaard. Good luck. So
And that was it?
that was it. Yeah, and we did not hit for those 3 innings that he was pitched. That's okay.
What was their kind of reaction like when you told them that?
They were just like, doesn't he throw like 100? I'm like, oh, not anymore. But he still has really great stuff. So he absolutely blew us up with everything but the fastball, because he at the time he wasn't really throwing his fastball. He was just throwing every other off speed that he has, but he was just absolutely just dialing it in. So for those first few innings, we were not hitting. So. Yeah.
How did the last 6 innings go?
It was okay. I think we lost, but it was close. But I still think we lost. I think we actually lost in a walk-off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Happy 4th. I'm sure the Fireworks were going for that game.
Oh, yeah, at 9 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Luisa, thank you very much for coming on and taking the time to speak with us today. This is the Beyond the Batter's Box podcast. We'll see you next week.